So today we will do JDBC with servlets. Is my screen visible to everyone? And am I audible to the online guys? Okay. So JDBC we all have done. So let's say I go to the web app and I want to register a student. So I go to web app and I make a new HTML file, student, yes, okay, thank you for reminding me. So if whenever I will create the front end file names, I will always use kebab case. Kebab case means all small and two words are separated by a hyphen. Okay, student registration form dot HTML. Okay, so you're going to follow the same. So here we will be accepting the student's roll number, name, percentage, and storing that in the database. So we should have a database present first. So you guys, let's try. So I'll make a database by your batch name and we'll make a table in that database. Okay. So Shivam DB. Okay. And in Shivam DB, you can come here in your SQL. And what's the command to create a table? Have you all finished SQL training? You all have, right? So create table, what? Student, attributes, roll number, integer of 5, and I'll give it as primary key, sname, varchar of 20, and percentage. How do you give percentage over here? Let's keep it as decimal. Let's keep it as what? Double. And how do you specify the type of double over here? If I want two digits to the left of the number and one after the left, is it like this? See, if I want to write 78.50, total how many digits? 4. And how many decimal points? Hope this works for me. Okay, table created. Let's create a sample student record. Let's insert a sample record. Insert into student values. Student number 1, Alice, and 78.50. Okay. Let's check if this record gets inserted, and it does, and it reflects over here. But this is not what I want to achieve. Now I need to create a UI. From that UI form, I'll give 3 text boxes. User will enter the respective details, and then through JDBC will store this in the database. Okay. So when we were doing our JDBC, we were accepting this on the console and using prepared statement, right? So how will we create this? Who will help me with this front end form now? Who will prompt me? What is the first thing I should open over here? Form, absolutely. And form has 2 attributes, action and, so as of now I'll just give them as placeholders. Later on we'll try to see as to what we will populate from there. Make sense? Okay. Then next, input. So let's first put a label over here. Enter roll number, correct? And then input type equals to text and name is equal to T1. Is it necessary that I give the name attribute? Is it necessary I should give the name attribute? Even if I do not give the name attribute, this input box will still reflect on the web page. Then what's the use of giving the name attribute? Absolutely. To access the value of this text box in our servlet. Request.get parameter. Get parameter which one? Name of the text box. Give br. And likewise, I'll enter how many text boxes? Enter roll number, enter name, and enter percentage. And the text, T1, T2, T3. Make sense? And then we'll to send the request to send the request from the client to the server. We have input type. See, we also have input type button. Button and submit, they look identical. But submit is triggering the action. Submit will trigger the, button will not trigger the action. Button will just a normal function call. But if you want to trigger the action, you have to give input type as submit. And what you want to show on the button is the value. So save the record, right? That is the value. And if you want to give a name, you can give a name as. Make sense? So far, so good. So when I click on action, I want to go to a which action? Save student. And the method which we'll be using is get. By default, it is get only. If you don't specify anything, it will still take get. But to make it more readable, you can specify explicitly also that method is get. Or what is the action? Save student. So now what should be my next step? Who will tell me? I should configure this save student in the web XML in the URL pattern. So I need a pair of servlet and servlet mapping, right? Where do I get the web XML? In the web INF. So I'll just copy this, okay? Be very careful with this. And go to web XML. Okay. I'll have to come back and again copy, I guess. Because now I'll take a pair of servlet and servlet mapping, paste it over here. I have to go back now again and copy this and replace it by which line? Which line do I replace it with? 51. With the slash or without the slash? With the slash. But I did not give any slash over here. There's no slash over here. So action will not contain the slash. Slash will be with the URL pattern. Okay, then give it tied to some name. Okay, you can take any name, but we'll give a sensible name. So we'll just type the same name, but with both capital. But with both capital. And then copy this line. It is same as line number 45, right? Paste it. And then we will route it to its servlet. So we will say save student servlet. So the servlet class will suffix the keyword servlet. Making sense? So we'll route to save student. We'll go to save student. Save student routes it to which class? Now is the servlet there? Create it where? In your Java resources and your default package. Right click, new, new class. Right? Yes, you new servlet. This takes time nowadays. I don't know why. So what name should I give? And finish this. And now all the JDBC code will write where? In the do get method in the try catch. Okay. First thing the which we always write for all the servlets. What are the two lines? What are the two lines? Okay, let's read this content also. By the way. So we'll come over here. Get parameter T1 is the roll number, right? Does it needs conversion to integer? Yes, no, maybe. It does need, right? And store it in a integer variable. Integer A, let's say. I'll take simple names. Does a T2 needs conversion? So B. Does T3 needs conversion? Yes, right? So, okay. So far, so good. So these three lines we will require for all. And then the code which we would write for our database connectivity. Starting with class.for name, driver manager. So write that in try catch. You cannot add throws over here. Do get will only have its before mentioned throws only. You cannot add any extra throws over here. Throws SQL exception. So JDBC will try to throw what? See, it will not allow you. It will not allow you to throw. So there is no option of throwing left. But SQL exception is a checked exception, right? So you have to show the handling mechanism. So what option is left? If throws is not the option, then what is the option left over now? Try catch. So that entire code will come over here and we will catch it in which exception? Okay. Imported control shift O. Huh. We will see later on. And then we'll give finally. We imported the SQL exception. Yeah. Okay, now let's try. So do you all have the code for JDBC or should I take my code of JDBC? So should you want me to type the entire code or I can copy paste it? I just copy paste, right? So मेरे कौन से बैच का जेडीबीसी में ले लूँ? तो जेडीबीसी का दिख रहा है क्या? जेडीबीसी किधर? जे ये दिख रहा है? जेडीबीसी ठीक है ये। चलो ये भी ठीक ठाक था। पूरा ले लेते हैं ये, क्योंकि टास्क भी तकरीबन सेम जैसा है। नहीं, टास्क तो अलग है। पूरा एक कोड ले लेते हैं। तो लॉग इन सर्वलेट सेव स्टूडेंट में आ गया, ठीक है। ट्राई में किया, क्लास डॉट फॉर नेम, सो क्लास नॉट फाउंड भी चाहिए। तो एक काम करते हैं, इसको एक्सेप्शन ही दे देते हैं, ठीक है। क्लास नॉट फाउंड भी आ सकता है ना। सो दिस इज माई ड्राइवर, ओके। देन इफ यू आर यूजिंग योर ड्राइवर, you'll have to add the jar file now. So where do we add the jar files? In the lib folder, in the lib folder. So अभी वहां से जार भी लाने पड़ेंगे। So I've got my driver. So I've got my driver, I've copied my driver and I'll paste the driver. I'll show you all. Okay, I've copied my driver. Now I'm pasting my driver. Where to paste it? Whereby in the lib folder, you see that? Right click over there and you paste your driver. So I've shared you your driver also. So use the driver compatible with your database. This is driver compatible with my database. So this should be there. Okay. So try. Now what is the database you are having? Shivam DB, right? And okay, database नीचे है क्या? Username is root, password is blank, driver is this. Class dot for name, connection, your URL plus your database name. I've got a slash over here, username and password. I hope you all are getting these three things. Correct? And now once you have established the connection, now what do we need? In prepared statement, query first or prepared statement first? Is it? Are you sure? In prepared statement, query first or PS object first? The query goes as a parameter to the PS. So, what query? What is the query? Insert into which table? Student and values. And do I know the value what user has entered? So, I'll take a placeholder. Yes, no, maybe. Now, for this, I'll prepare a statement. So, prepared statement from which package? From Java SQL, remember, not from MySQL. Java SQL. Make object equals to con dot, what is the connection name? Con dot prepare statement. For which query? For which query? So in your PS, the query is written first and then the PS object is made. Now how many placeholders I need to fill now? 3. So what will I say? PS dot first is set int. The first question mark value is coming from which variable? From which variable? A. Second is a set string and value is coming from which variable? Okay, so I give the variables name accordingly. And third is a set double and value is coming from C. And now once all my three are populated, I'll execute. What I'm trying to execute is a DDL or DML statement. This is a DDL or DML statement. DML. For DML, what do we have? Execute update or execute query? Execute updates. Using which object? PS dot execute update. Do I have to pass the query over here now again? No, because already I have passed the query over here. So this will insert how many records? Three records. One record. So I will store that in the variable rows. And I will say if the rows is greater than 0 means 1 is greater than 0, I will out. So how will I out now? Out dot print, and I'll do what? Record inserted successfully. Okay, else I'll out record not inserted. If there is any exception happening, we'll go over here and we'll out dot print that event dot get message. Okay, and then after finally we can, okay, let's keep it blank over as of now. We'll have to close the connection, right? So if I take this on over here and I just do it like this, so in that I can close the con. This is a bit notorious. Unhandle exception type SQL exception. I also write over here exception or SQL exception. Now what happened? Surround with try catch. Why does it do that? PS dot close. Nobody knows PS over here. So PS should also be declared outside. So what I was trying to do. Unhandle exception. I wanted to try catch. So there's a cleanup job I'm doing over here. Okay, let's try to do that over here afterwards. Okay. Unhandled. Okay, they should be a part of the try. They should be a part of the try. Okay, so let's try to run this code and check if it works fine. It is the landing. So I'm going to rename and I can then copy the name of this and I'll go to my web XML and I'll say the landing page of my application is student registration. All good. Looks good to me as of now. I'll just have a cross check. Save student. Save student is routing it to save student servlet, and save student servlet is reading all the data, having the connection and prepared statement. Credentials are in place, database name is in place, everything is in place, driver is loaded. Okay, table name is correct, connection is created, set string, set double, all are in place. Yeah, looks good to me. We are good to go. So I right click on my application, run on server, and let's see how it behaves. I'll keep the database open parallelly so that we can cross check if the record is being inserted or not. Okay, forms open up. We had entered which number earlier? Roll number as 1, right? So I cannot enter 1 again. Can I enter 1 again? So 2, Ben, 88.5, save. It says record inserted successfully. I come here and I cross check and it does show me. Correct? What if I enter an existing roll number? What if after record insert successfully, I want to again go back to this, I want to again route back to the save page. Now, request dispatcher, include or forward, include, right? So now you all know how to start making the application. So we had done that where over here. So I'll take what? Was it in the login one? This one, right? So I'll copy the entire stuff and I'll come here and I'll put it over here and I'll say this is multiple line of code, so should be within parentheses and font color. Red sounds like an error, right? Let's see, green also will not make sense. What is the color for success? Green. And what will we say over here? Record inserted. And we'll route it back to over here. Make sense? Okay. So let's check if did the console restart? Yeah, it has restarted. So let's try this. Let's add 3. Chris, 98.5. I save. It says record inserted and it routes me back to the same page. If I now try to enter 1 again with David and it is 7.6, will it allow me? Will throw an exception. Primary key duplicate. Let's check that. Duplicate entry 1 for key. How did it reflect this? Because in the exception handling, I had written that. Now, whatever message comes up, please console that message. Making sense? So far, so good. Okay. Now I have hard coded these credentials. So these are restricted only to this particular file. What if all the servlets wants to use these credentials? Then what do? We put them in the servlet context. Okay, I am reading this now currently in which servlet? Save student servlet. So even if I put them as a config for this will also be fine. But then I have to put the config for all. The best option is then now put it as a servlet context. So go to your XML and now in the servlet context, how many variables will I need now? Driver name, database name, username, password. I will also need the URL also. Let's come app name. Okay, so let's take all these variables one by one. See, I don't want to mess up with this code, so maybe we'll register a employee also. So let's not mess up with this code. So what we'll do is we'll make one more HTML file. What? Employee registration form. Okay, and same to same, we'll take the data from here and put it over here, and we'll go to which endpoint? Save employee. Okay, and what will we say? Enter employee number, enter employee name, and enter employee salary. Okay, now let's make a new table in the database. Who'll help me out with the create table command faster? Create table, emp, eno, integer of 5, primary key, ename, varchar of 20, and salary will be what? Double. So if I want to store 10,000.0, so how many? Let's take 7 comma 2. Total how many? Total how many? 4, 6, and 1, 7. And how many decimals? So try to be within this scope. Do not enter any random number like this. Will violate the double. Now save it. Okay, table created. Okay, now I'm going to which endpoint? Posting it to which action? Save employee. So what should happen? There should be a pair of, okay, be very vigilant while you're trying to write this. Okay, better you copy paste it instead of typing. And save employee should go to save employee, copy line number 87, replace it with line number 82, and it should route me to, is this servlet there with me right now? You have to create it where? Default package, new servlet. Okay, class name, save employee servlet and finish. Okay, अब इसमें हम लोग फेच करेंगे कहां से? कॉन्टेक्स्ट, ताकि हमारे पास दोनों फ्लेवर्स रहे प्रैक्टिस के लिए. मैंने इसके लिए इसको ओवरराइड नहीं किया. ठीक है ना? तो सेव एम्प्लॉय सर्वलेट को हम क्या से लाएंगे? कभी सारे क्रेडेंशियल्स कॉन्टेक्स्ट से लाएंगे. ठीक है ना? तो कॉन्टेक्स्ट में जाके बनाना पड़ेगा. तो मुझे कॉन्टेक्स्ट में ये चीजें स्टोर करनी पड़ेगी. पहला क्या है? डेटाबेस यूआरएल. क्या ये? एसक्यूएल यूआरएल. क्या ये है ना पूरा यूआरएल. तो जाएंगे इधर कॉन्टेक्स्ट पैरम में आ गया ना ये. तो क्या बना रहा हूं मैं? माई एसक्यूएल URL क्या है वो? सही है, पूरा एंड टू एंड ले लिया। दूसरा वेरिएबल डेटाबेस नेम, वो भी लिख दिया इधर। सही है। फिर तीसरा ड्राइवर नेम, है ना, लिख ऐसे जो चीज़ें लग रही हो देख लो ना। पहले ये लिया फिर ये लिया, फिर क्या है, यूजर नेम पासवर्ड और ड्राइवर नेम बाद में एक है, ठीक है चलो। ऑर्डर इंपॉर्टेंट तो है नहीं इसमें। तो डेटाबेस नेम ले लिया, अभी क्या, यूजर नेम क्या है मेरा, रूट, और पासवर्ड मेरा ब्लैंक है। तो मैंने वेरिएबल क्या बनाना है, पासवर्ड बनाना है, या इसको हम बोल देंगे डेटाबेस यूजर नेम। ठीक है, ताकि लगे कि भाई डेटाबेस पासवर्ड, ब्लैंक है तो ब्लैंक छोड़ दो। और डेटाबेस, ठंडा हो गया था, ये ठंडा कर रहा है अभी। डेटाबेस ड्राइवर नेम, ओके। क्या डेटाबेस ड्राइवर नेम, डबल कोट्स देने की जरूरत नहीं। आप लोग में आएगा डॉट सीजे, जो लेटेस्ट वालों में क्या आ रहा है, ड्राइवर नेम ये आ रहा है। जो 8.0.33 यूज कर रहे हैं उनका ड्राइवर नेम क्या है, माई एसक्यूएल और जेडीबीसी के बीच में सीजे है, मेरे इसमें नहीं है। सो दिस इज इट, all good. So these are where in the context param. So once I store them in the context param means अब मैं इसको कहाँ से fetch करूंगा, so in my here save employee servlet, what do you think will happen, we'll copy the save student servlet, जो चीज़ें ज़रूरत की है वो यहाँ से ले लेंगे, जो ज़रूरत की नहीं है वो नहीं लेंगे। ठीक है, पूरा कोड रिफ्रेश करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है। डू गेट को मैं ओवरराइड कर रहा हूँ। लेट्स कम नाउ, ये दो चीज़ ले ली, ये तीन चीज़ें भी आ गई। ठीक है, मैंने ए बी सी रखा है ओके, और वो भी इंट स्ट्रिंग और डबल ही आएगा, ये यहाँ तक ठीक है। करेक्शन भी ले लिया, पीएस भी ले लिया। अब ये हार्ड कोडेड नहीं चाहिए, तो इसके लिए क्या करना पड़ेगा हमें, पहले सर्वलेट कॉन्टेक्स्ट का ऑब्जेक्ट बनाना पड़ेगा। क्या नाम, जो आपको नाम देना है दे दो, इक्वल टू गेट सर्वलेट कॉन्टेक्स्ट, आ गया। ओके, एंड नाउ इंस्टेड ऑफ हार्ड कोडिंग दिस व्हाट विल वी से, कॉन्टेक्स्ट डॉट गेट इनिट पैरामीटर, कौन सा वाला, कौन सा पैरामीटर है जो मुझे यूआरएल दे रहा है, ये दे रहा है। And we will convert it to a string, all we have to convert to a string over here, okay, and store it in this, correct. So I'll just copy this now, and now you just change the name of the parameter, twice, twice, 4 and 5। अब डेटाबेस नेम के लिए कौन सा पैरामीटर दिया था, डेटाबेस नेम, ओके, और ये यूजर नेम के लिए डेटाबेस यूजर नेम, do not write, type, just copy paste it। for the password, database password. And for the driver name, remainder of the code is the same. Okay, insert into EMP का employee है, EMP, ठीक है ना? EMP values, one is A, B and C. Okay, record inserted and routed back to employee registration form. else दिखा देंगे, ठीक है? तो ये हम लोगों ने कहाँ से फेच किया अभी? सारे कॉन्टेक्ट से फेच कर लिए, रिस्टार्ट किया। ओके, स्टार्ट तो वो फिर वो स्टार्ट फाइल तो वही है ना हमारी, तो वहाँ भी जाके चेंज कर देंगे। वेलकम फाइल कौन सी बना देंगे, या डायरेक्टली यहाँ से शुरू कर सकते हैं आप, डायरेक्टली यहाँ से रन करके रन एज रन ऑन सर्वर कर दो। ओके, अगर चालू है तो स्टॉप करो सर्वर को, कंसोल को क्लियर करो, ये काम कर लिया करो। स्टॉप द सर्वर, क्लियर द कंसोल एंड देन डायरेक्टली रन द फाइल विच यू वांट टू रन, अगर वेलकम को छेड़ना नहीं है तो। So let's come and see how it works. Are we able to fetch the employee data? One, Rahul, $800, save, record inserted. Let's come over here in the employee and it is showing me that record. Yes, no, maybe. This is good. Oh, even better would be that now the issue is if I want to save a player record, save player, then again I'll have to do all this stuff in the player also, the fetching and driver name and all that stuff. So why not we just create a class for the connection, MySQL connection class. So let's come over here now, see what I'm trying to do. Now we'll try to do one more registration. Okay, so that you have all the three flavors. Rename. So let's register a player now. Okay, student is the student has one employee. What else should we register? Player or any course, any teacher. Okay, let's register a player now. So web app, new HTML file, player registration form dot HTML. I'll copy the student registration, paste it over here in the body. Will route me to save player. I'll take his jersey number, player name, and let's say matches played and how much runs he has scored. Let's take 4 things for that. Enter, runs score, text box score. Make sense? So now we'll route it to which endpoint? Save player. So let's come to web XML, make a pair of servlet mapping. I would still not risk writing. Save player, save player, save player, copy this, replace it with this, and then save player servlet. Now is this servlet there? Go and create it. New servlet, class name, save player. Finished. So far, so good. Now to establish database connectivity, normally what I would do is I make a separate class. Okay. So if you observe my you observe my let me search and show it to you. So normally when I would do JDBC, I would create a MySQL connection file. This would be a separate class, would have a static method, get connection. Directly I can call it with this class name without getting object, and that will have all my configuration over here, correct? So this is what I planned for you guys. Okay, so if I just copy this code and place it in a notepad, okay, let's I just place it in a notepad for the time being. And now let's create a separate class which will do the database connection. So where are we? We are here, correct? So here in the default package, I go and make a separate class. I make a separate class altogether, new class, and call it as MySQL database connection. Okay. In that, I'll write a static method. Why is the function static? Why is this function static? Get directly access it with the class name. So get database connection, and it will give me the connection, right? Return, what will this return me? A connection. To import the connection from MySQL or SQL. SQL, right? And now this should give me a connection. So what I can do is whatever code I have written in the employee servlet over here, I can just take this code this much, okay? This much code I can take and put it over here. Okay, so you can skip the try. This we can. Okay, now this is reading from the context, right? So we can pass this context as a part of this function parameter. So whenever I'll call the function, I'll pass what as a parameter? I'll pass what as a parameter? The servlet context. So no need to redeclare over here. And this will throw an exception. Write it within try. Write a catch. Okay. So, and now what I do is I return a count. And if there is exception, I will return none. Okay. So see the same task, what we are doing, making a separate class called MySQL database connection. make a function over there. So I'm reading this all from the context, right? So I'll pass whenever I'll call this function, I'll pass what as a parameter to this function? The servlet context, and it will give me the connection. So now when I make save player, all I have to do is in the save player, all I need to do is, where is my save employee? See what code can be eliminated in that. How much code I can eliminate? How much code I can eliminate? T1 is an integer, T2 is string, T3 is matches played also is integer. Yes or no? And runs code also is a integer. So this is taking 4 integers. Correct? T4 connection is there, PS is there, servlet context is there. Now this is, I don't want all this. I directly want to populate the connection variable. So how will I do that? My MySQL data connection dot get data connection and pass what as a parameter to it? The context which I have made over here. Whatever context I have made over here, that is going as a parameter to this method, and it is giving me the connection in return, and I will use that connection. So now just use this line for all your further subsequent database connections. So we made one single class with all the database configuration passed as a servlet context as a parameter to this method. Now going forward, wherever you want to make database connection, in one single line you can read it. How? Just do this. But make the object of a servlet context. Okay. And now this did we make the class player, table player? Not there, right? How many attributes does the player have? Oh, so I will make that table. Who will help me? Create table player. What? JNO integer of 3 and primary key player name varchar of 20 matches played integer of 3 and runs scored integer of, let's say, 5. Make sense? Table created. So insert into table name. How many attributes? How many columns? 4. First is the integer A, second is the string B, and third and fourth are also integers. Third also is the integer for C, and fourth also the integer for D. Okay. And record inserted, and we'll route it back to the player registration form. Okay, this is not throwing exception. So remove this exception over here, because here we have done the class dot for name, no? So this will throw the class not found exception. So let's come to the player. If all good, execute update. Record inserted. We'll route back over there. Else record not inserted. Close, close. Exception. Yeah, looks good to me. We can try this out. But before trying, stop the server. Stop all your servers which are going on currently. Okay. Clear the console. Because I'm running a new file, correct? Which one? So either I run it from here or I put it as a welcome file and start my application. So if I want to do that, what will I do then? I'll come over here and say what? Player is my startup form and then start my application. Then run it from here. Whatever style suits you. Okay. Now going forward, it's all person to person. Okay. Programming lot depend on the personality also. So if I am not a person of for loop and I prefer while loop, I'll go with while loop. Okay. So it's all up to the taste of the developer also. Open. Let's try to insert this 18. Virat. Matches played 100. Runs scored 5,000. Save the student. Record. Inserted. And it shows you over here. Okay, so I've showed you all the flavors and I've documented them in separate files. So you can go with whatever suits you better. But if you can manage to use this style, this would be the ideal way of programming because the entire connectivity you're getting in one single line over here. Is that making sense? And how we are passing this context over here so that we can read that context over here. Getting it right? All good? दिया